For 6 years, Adunni believed her baby had died. But the truth, her daughter was alive, raised by the one person she trusted most, her own sister. Morayo didn't just take the child, she took Adunni's motherhood, her memories, her right to be called mommy. But silence has ended, and grief has turned to fire. Now, Adunni is done mourning. She is going to fight for her child, for the truth, and for the years she will never get back. This is the part where tears become strength, where secrets lose their power, and where a mother refuses to stay silent. I couldn't have children, Adunni. My husband's family was pressuring me. I was desperate. I thought you'd never survive the delivery. I thought, what difference would it make if she had love? I raised her. They stared at each other. Sisters bound by blood, now separated by betrayal. Adunni stepped back, tears streaming. You took my child, Morayo whispered. She calls me mommy. But Adunni's heart was no longer silent. The air between them was so thick for forgiveness. Morayo paced the kitchen like a caged animal. Do you think it was easy for me? I watched you suffer. I thought you were going to die. I saved you from more pain. You did save me, Adunni snapped. You sentenced me. Morayo's voice cracked. I loved her. From the moment I held her, she became mine. But she wasn't yours to take. The argument spilled into the hallway, past neighbors, peeking from behind curtains. Their voices rose, but underneath the shouting was a river of grief neither had the words for. Adunni finally packed her things. I'll find a way to take her back, she said quietly. You won't keep lying to her forever. Morayo blocked the door, her voice shaking. You'll destroy her. She doesn't know you. She'll be confused. She will hate you. She has a life. Adunni didn't answer. She just walked out. Heart torn, legs trembling, mind spinning. That night, neither of them slept. Because even love, when stolen, leaves scars. And sisters, when wounded, do not bleed quietly. The next time Adunni saw Ife, it wasn't planned. She was walking through Bodija markets when she spotted Morayo ahead, holding the girl's hand. Before she could turn away, Ife saw her and waved, eyes lighting up. Hello, Auntie Adunni. Adunni smiled faintly. The ache returned. Morayo tried to hurry her along, but the girl pulled back. Wait, let me greet her. Adunni knelt. Hello, Ife. I saw you before in the shop, she said cheerfully. You look like me. Adunni's voice caught. Yes, I've been told that. Ife leaned in. Serious? Are you my mommy's sister? Yes. Then why are you sad? Morayo stepped forward. Tension tight on her face. We have to go Ife. But the child turned to her. Is she my other mommy? Morayo froze. Adunni's heart stopped. I had a dream, Ife whispered, that I was crying in the rain and someone was looking for me. Morayo knelt quickly, grabbing her hands. Enough story for today. They walked away. Morayo's grip firm, her back stiff, but Ife kept looking over her shoulder. And Adunni knew the truth was already stirring in the child's heart. A bond severed by lies was beginning to hum again, like a forgotten lullaby. Adunni visited the lawyer. She didn't know the law, only her pain. But when she told her story, the lawyer leaned forward, eyes narrowing with concern. You have a case, but it will not be easy. Morayo had registered Ife as her own at birth. Fake papers, a paid nurse, no biological proof. She's legally the mother, the lawyer explained. On paper. But if we prove fraud, and you can link the birth record to your story, you have a chance. Adunni's hope surged, then stumbled. There's no DNA test. She whispered, we are sisters, same blood. It won't show enough difference. The lawyer nodded solemnly. Then we need the truth from the village. Records, witnesses, and perhaps a confession. Adunni left with a folder of documents and a growing weight in her chest. This wasn't just about love anymore. It was a battle. Morayo, now concerned, retaliated. She filed a petition, claiming Adunni was mentally unstable, obsessed with her niece, and creating delusions from grief. Friends began to whisper. Some took sides, but Adunni had made a promise to herself and to the child who had cried in the rain. She would not be silenced again. She returned to Eregun not as a woman in mourning, but as a mother on a mission. This time, the village greeted her with weary eyes. The past had awakened, something comfortable. People remembered the storm, the strange silence that followed. The baby no one had seen, but everyone had heard. Adunni moved from house to house, so people turned her away. Others listened, then shook their heads. Let sleeping dogs lie, one old man muttered. No good come from digging up old bones. But she didn't stop. She found an old friend, Mama Roxy, who remembered being outside the clinic that night. I heard the cry. Adunni, she said, placing a hand on her shoulder. We all did. But we were told the baby died. We believed what we were told. Adunni's heart swelled. Can you testify? Mama Roxy hesitated, then nodded. For the truth, yes. Then someone mentioned the retired midwife who had written everything in her personal ledger. A book she'd kept hidden for years. She lives beside the mosque, a boy whispered. Adunni clutched the hope tightly. Because maybe, just maybe, the answers she needed were written in ink, waiting to be found. The old woman sat on a wooden stool, her hands as wrinkled as her stories. When Adunni explained why she came, the midwife sighed deeply. went into a back room and returned with a tattered notebook tied with string. She placed it gently in Adunni's hands. "I kept records," she said, "even when I wasn't asked to, even when they told me to forget." Adunni opened the book, her hands trembling. Page after page, birth, deaths, complications. Then she found it. March 4, 2000. Mother name Adunni Afolabi. Live birth, girl. Strong cry, no complications. Her breath hinged. "Did you see the baby yourself?" Adunni asked. "I cleaned her, wrapped her. You fainted and before you woke, she was gone. Nosajai said arrangement had been made." Adunni's eyes burned. She photocopied the page. The midwife signed the letter, affirming it. It wasn't just emotion anymore. It was evidence. Outside, the sky was clear. For the first time in years, the air felt lighter. And as Adunni boarded the bus back to Ibadan, the ledger clutched to her chest, she whispered, "Hold on, Ife. Mommy is coming." This time, not as a shadow, but as truth. The courtroom was small, but suffocating. Morayo sat on one side. The lawyer laid out the case. Forged records, stolen identity, suppressed grief. He read the midwife ledger aloud. Morayo's lawyer stood. "There is no DNA proof. No one can confirm this child isn't biologically hers. Only hearsay and the coincidence of faces." But then the judge looked at Ife. "Child," he said softly, "would you like to say anything?" Morayo froze. She's just a child, but the judge allowed it. Ife stood, small, brave. "I don't know what's happening, but I see Auntie Adunni in my dreams. I feel like I know her. When she touches my hair, it feels like home." Silence fell. The judge leaned back. "This case is far from over, but based on what I've seen, I'm granting temporary shared custody, pending full investigation." Morayo gasped. Adunni wept. It wasn't victory, not yet. But it was the first time she could call her daughter by name and be heard. The first weekend Adunni spent with Ife was quiet. Unsure, like two strangers, trying to speak the same song. They walked through a park, ate puff-puff by the roadside. Ife clutched a doll, the same one Morayo had given her on her 5th birthday. Adunni didn't try to take her place. She only wanted her to know she was real. That night, in a small flat, Ife asked, "Are you really my mommy?" Adunni knelt. "I am. I was the first to hold you. I named you even before you were born. What did you call me?" "Ankay, the one who is cherished." Ife's eyes sparkled. "I like that." She reached out, touching Adunni's face gently. "Can I call you mommy too?" Adunni's breath caught. "Only if you want to." Ife nodded slowly, then curled into her lap, resting her head on her chest. Adunni held her, not just as a child, but as a piece of her soul. returned. Outside, the city moved on. Lights blinked. Horns honked. But inside that room, time stood still. Because for the first time in 7 years, a mother and daughter had found the beginning of something they never should have lost. Morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting soft gold across the floor. Adunni woke to the warmth of Ife's small hand, still cold in hers. She watched her daughter sleep, lashes fluttering, lips slightly parted, hair a mess of tiny twists. This was real, no longer a dream haunted by what-ifs. They cooked breakfast together. Ife spit flour on the floor and laughed until her stomach hurt. They drew pictures, watched cartoons, sang old Yoruba lullabies, the kind Adunni used to hum when she was pregnant. There were awkward moments too. Ife asked questions Adunni couldn't always answer. Why did you come for me before? Did you stop loving me? Do I have 2 mothers now? Adunni answered honestly, with tears sometimes. I never stopped loving you, not for a second. When it was time for Ife to return to Morayo, the goodbye clung to them like fog. The girl hugged her tightly, whispering, "Can I come again next week?" Adunni nodded, heart splitting and healing at once. Watching her daughter disappear into the back seat of Morayo's car, she whispered, "Yes, every week, until you never have to leave." The bond was fragile, but growing, stronger with every heartbeat. Weeks passed. The court proceedings continued, but the fire of anger began to cool, not because the betrayal was forgotten, but because Ife needed peace, not war. Adunni joined the woman's healing circle, where mothers shared stories of loss, grief, and redemption. She spoke her truth, and in doing so, released some of its weight. Morayo joined a support group too, one for women battling fertility and guilt. She didn't expect to feel heard, but she did. One day, she visited Adunni, not to argue, just to sit. They talked about childhood, about their mother, about the dreams they once had. And somewhere between the tea and the silence, a tiny thread of forgiveness began to form. "Ife will always love you," Adunni said. "But she was mine first." Morayo nodded, and maybe she can belong to both of us in different ways. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't complete, but it was a beginning. Because healing doesn't rush, it walks slowly, but forward. One hard conversation at a time. Time, like fabric, can be torn, but it can also be stitched. Months later, the final court ruling came. The judge acknowledged Morayo's deception, but also her role in raising Ife with love. In a rare decision, joint custody was granted, with the condition that Ife be told the full truth as she grew. No more lies, no more hiding. Adunni cried, not because it was perfect, but because it was enough. Now, every weekend, Ife spent time in both homes. 2 rooms, 2 families, 1 story. She calls Morayo Mommy Mo. She calls Adunni Mommy. She knows the truth, and somehow her little heart holds space for it all. Adunni returns to tailoring, Her hands strong again. She opens her own shop called Enkay's thread. Every stitch a reminder that what was broken can be mended. Morayo visits sometimes. They aren't sisters the way they used to be, but they are something. And Ife, she dances, she draws, she laughs. The threads that once snapped now hold strong, not in perfection, but in truth. Some stories don't end. They simply become softer, quieter, woven into the fabric of who we are. Adunni often sits by the window of her shop, watching the sun spill across the sidewalk, the laughter of school children echoing through the streets. Her sewing machine hums in rhythm, with her heart now steady, grounded. On Saturdays, Ife arrives with stories from school. Drawings of her two mothers holding hands and eyes that no longer search, but shine. She helps fold fabrics, pick out colors, ask questions like, "Were you scared when I was taking?" And "Do you still love Auntie Mo?" Adunni always answers with honesty and love. Yes, she was scared. Yes, she still loves Morayo, not without pain, but with understanding. Their family doesn't look like anyone else. And maybe that's not the point. Because life tore their clothes. Yes, it stained it, burned it, tried to throw it away. But they stitched it back, thread by thread, with truth, with forgiveness, with love. And now, when Adunni looks at her daughter, full of light, full of question, she sees not what was taken, but what was reclaimed. A mother, a daughter. Some stories don't end with applause or punishment. They end with wisdom. Adunni did get everything she lost. Time can't be reversed. A baby held in arms is not the same as one raised in memory. But what she did get was truth. And truth, when accepted, can become healing. Morayo didn't go to prison. She didn't lose Ife completely. But she learned that love, when built on lies, will always crack under pressure. And Ife, she got what every child deserves: honesty, love, and the right to know where she truly came from. If someone has wronged you, confront it, but with grace. If you've wronged someone, confess it before the silence eats you alive. And if you've been holding on to pain for years, let the story remind you you are not alone. And it's never too late to stitch back the thread.